Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Jay in Transit. I hope that you and your loved ones have remained safe, healthy, and sane. I know that I'm ready to be outside, but infinitely grateful for my health and the fact that I've been able to spend it with my family. So I also have a goodie for you today. We are going to be talking about sexy, what sexy looked like before, what sexy has transitioned into now, and how we can continue to evolve into sexy when we get out of quarantine. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Jay in Transit. And I'm also thanking the audience for coming on and listening to another episode. I thought we'd focus today's episode on sexy and what that means, what it's looked like in the past, and how we've had to adjust sexy in the middle of this pandemic that we're now going on 6 weeks, or is it 7 weeks?
Yes.
In my mind, it's a very long time. So I feel like I'm never going to be free. But so I invited a friend of mine, Denise. She will give an introduction on her own, who has taken an interest and has become an expert in sexy. So,
Yes. So my name is Denise, and one of the things that I have been on a journey on is like discovering wonder. And so I have always been a kind of person who, if there's something I'm curious about, I go investigate it. So I thought about like, what would it be like if I started running and I ran 6 marathons? What would it be like if I learned a little bit more wine and I got about 4 certifications? So, I'm kind of one of those people, right? And
got
so,
it.
so then it just got to a point where I said, you know what? Like, what is this thing around like sexy? Like, what does it mean? What's going on? Why do people hold it some kind of way? Why do some people have tons of it and some people get shamed for it? Like, what's going on? And that's when I started to do all this research. Some of it was funner than other times, but I digress. I digress. It was an opportunity to really chase my wonder, talk to some really really smart people, do some things, make some mistakes, and on the other side, I'm coming out with such an amazing appreciation for what it means to be sexy, what it means
Mm.
to understand um, everything, everything, like soup to nuts. What is sexy? Like four little words, and I often say deceptively simple letters, but
Absolutely.
so big, so big. So let me ask you, Boo. Ooh, when your friend gives you that look, like nobody.
I know. I was just like, oh, we're going
Oh,
here.
oh, oh. So now. So talk to me. Let's not even jump. Let's not even start here. Let's go back, way back,
Mm,
right? What
way
what
back.
what was sexy to you? What did sexy mean to you, like back in the day? Like,
Yeah, back in the day, for me, it meant a certain body figure. It meant like my hair a certain way because my hair has transitioned it, for a long time. But I also thought I was sexier when I was thinner, younger, had straight hair. And in those days, I was a straight figure. I had no ass, no tits. But I thought I was like the hottest thing. And when it came to men, I thought sexy came across to me as brawn, as like, strength. Um, it had nothing to do with the twinkle in his eye or the dimple in his cheek. So, yeah, that's what it was for me in the past.
can I just like high five you and then fuss at you, because remember I asked you the question. I didn't ask you to say what I was thinking. Like, I just, like, you couldn't tell me nothing, baby. I had a perm
Girl,
that like was like, girl, girl.
listen.
And I'm talking about the kind
And
of
the
perm where you had to be at the beauty parlor all day. Like, it was an
yes,
all day commitment. And I'm talking about laid to the side, like the rain didn't even bother touching me because I had committed so much time to having this straight hair that
Let me tell you.
baby. And
And it was on the clock. I would get it every, what is it, 12 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was.
listen,
If I got it in college, it would be in a ponytail so I could see my mom. I mean, it was a hot mess.
right. Didn't matter how unhealthy it was, didn't matter like, the chemical burns, any of those other things that happened as a side effect. And to your point, yeah, too, like I used to think that like the thicker the dude, the sexier, right? And so like thick, had to be like strong looking, and then
Tall,
yeah, tall, had to be tall.
make
Yeah, listen, and it's so interesting that like over time and over the years that it started to be like, yeah, there, because that was the packaging, right? It was really about the packaging. Then I started to realize like, oh, okay, wait, they start talking. Dang it. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Update, update, right? Updates.
feel like we had to do a
Yeah,
reset.
like 10-second timeout. Do over. Okay. Then what did sexy turn into, right? So you get a little older, you're a little wiser. What did sexy turn in for, what did it turn into for you?
So it still remained a little bit superficial in terms of like the look that I liked when it came to men, for instance. But it definitely had to be more of like what was going on in the mind, right? So it wasn't enough for me that you were a doctor. Like I was like, if the only thing you focused on is how many patients you saved and how you're God's gift to, men and women, not interested. But if you had this profession and then came home and knew how to cook and could talk to me about what was happening in Iran at the time, like I was like, wait a minute. Like it was like a whole game changer. It was in terms of the appearance, it was about how they were taking care of themselves to be better, not necessarily to be like the pretty boy.
Facts,
Um,
facts, facts, facts. For me, I definitely at the time I was working. I was working in a university, so for me, I
mhm.
I don't know what happened. Plot twist: the nerds were my thing. Ooh, catnip, hear me, because there was something really great about somebody who could take all the things that they had learned and then like talk to me, right? And then like maybe
Right.
teach me something, show me something I had never seen before. I was like, oh yeah, oh yes, thank you. Yeah.
And it was anything and everything. It was like, at one point, I remember when I had first started college, and I was like, well, I know boys like sports, so I'm going to learn sports and also a way to connect with my brothers. Later on, it's like, well, I just want to know why he's kicking the ball this way. It had nothing to do. Whether I knew what the damn 6 yard line was, like that made no sense. And whether you cared or not, like, yeah, that flew out the window. So I totally get
Yeah.
that.
Then I think I started recognizing like my best friends. I had a lot of gay best friends, and the way
Mm.
that they could talk to my heart was so amazing. Then I started saying, nope, my boo has to understand my heart. And then that's when I started to recognize that, there was something really great about being able to, like, to talk, to be able to talk, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
connect at that level. And so then it was like, oh, okay, but then it just seemed like, how do you find the person that has some of these things as you're evolving your understanding of sexy? So like
Right.
it became kind of like the search for the unicorn. Like, is that possible to connect with somebody? Like, oh my gosh. So what has been your experience trying to find those things, right? Like, because I'm sure you have a current version of sexy. How has it been trying to connect with that?
Well, I feel that if I am not connected to how I'm feeling and how I am looking, if I am not enjoying, then there's nothing that's going to about me, then there's nothing that I'm going to enjoy from somebody else because my whole aura changes, like the type of clothes I put on are different. The spaces I choose to be in, who do I give eye contact to? Like it's like that's what I have noticed has gotten in the way for me in the past about when it comes to that relationship with sexy. But when I'm like completely comfortable, whether it was, 10 pounds up or 15 pounds down, you know, I'm wearing this hair looking crazy today and done tomorrow, like there's no stopping what type of flies you catch in the net. So um, it's still definitely connected to conversation, but it's also more of like, I mean, I this could be fleeting, but like vibe,
Got it.
like shared things, and it's like it's yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. It's like it's a
It's
vibe.
so interesting that you bring that up because, we talked about how we have updated what we see as sexy, but oftentimes I think the breakdown is honestly we don't update what we feel as sexy, right? And so it's interesting to your point, like, oh, I don't even make contact with those people. But the reason why is because you have shifted. So let me ask you, what do
Right.
you consider as sexy? Like if you had to like define sexy more recently for you, how do you define yourself as sexy?
Oh, me
Hmm.
as sexy. So I would define me as sexy as not taking things overtly serious, but also not being extremely nonchalant. Actually being present versus like telling myself the ending of the story, because I do that a lot. Like I'm already at the end and I haven't even enjoyed the beginning, let alone the middle, to like, get to the end. And it's about being authentically happy and genuine in the space that I'm in, because then a whole different person comes out. It's not, 9 to 5 Juana sitting at a desk even though her hair's in a bun, but it's 9 to 5 Juana, her hair in a bun, and she's asking you questions and laughing and looking at you in the face. And so that's how it's translated for me recently.
You all can't see me, but I have the biggest smile because if you could see the sparkle on this one's face, thank you, and like a gift. And it's so amazing, right? Like this idea of connecting to it's one of the things, right? So remember I told you that I love to explore wonder, and to see you talk about you as sexy. I teach exponents, and then I'm trying to like carry the to the 10th power. It's like pretty epic. And it's a gift. It's
Oh,
really a gift. And I just thank you for sharing that moment with me. I know y'all can't see it, but just close your eyes and imagine like light, and then out of nowhere something just turned up the light. Like that's what you welcome. Okay, so
but
uh,
thank you.
and you're not
But
blushing, by
you
the way,
haven't
and you're
told
not blushing. Okay, I'm blushing. You're not blushing.
I would love to hear what makes you
you
feel
know
sexy.
um I love this idea of like you talked about this idea of it's not just 9 to 5 Wana, right? And so for me it's not just get it done, Denise. It's being present. It's like, listen, it's after the shower, taking the time to rub oil on every inch of my skin. And I'm talking about thanking my thighs for looking that way, looking at my elbow like, look at that
Ever.
elbow. It's an elbow. Oh, it's an elbow. Like, because it's so, like, listen, everything is beautiful and being present to that, right? Listen, I've had 3 kids, but it's beautiful, right? Um, I have um, I have like some scars that have the best stories, by the way, but it's beautiful, right? And all of it is
Right.
sexy. And so for me right now, it's just being present. That is so sexy to me.
Well, I could tell that you were extremely enthusiastic about that rubbing the oil and being present. And we appreciate it because your skin is absolutely the bomb.
Thank
So, so we are in a very strange time. We started, talking about how we're
you.
inside, and how how have you maintained sexy in this pandemic? When there's very little amenities that we can take advantage of, to make the vision of sexy, but what does that
Mm,
look like? Or what
mm.
has that looked like?
This for me has definitely been a journey. Most like people have called this the time of everything, the great pause, the renewal, listen, it's as sometimes it just was a straight drought. But I will say that connecting to being present and also like listening to myself. I used to go so fast, I didn't even know when my skin was too dry, right? I used to go so fast, I didn't even know when I was horny. Like I used to go so fast and I would say, "Oh, I need to work out." No, I don't need to work out. That's that's two different things. Like
Very,
very different
very,
things. Carry the two plus
yeah.
four. But no, but so this time for me has really been about listening and also recognizing
Mm-hmm.
how much more I'm connected to because I can listen. Because now on the other side of this, what I
Right.
can communicate, baby, it's not right. It's not. It's in some states it's illegal, but I'm gonna communicate it no way.
I was gonna say, do we need to keep you locked
Listen,
up?
but see, this idea of like being able to say, hey, I like this, or hey, I've always been curious about this,
Right.
right? And how often do we put those things in the back of our mind or in the back of the closet, like it'll never happen, or I don't even trust myself enough to ask somebody that I'm seeing, hey, are you willing to try this? And so being able to listen
Uh,
to say, you know what? No, that wasn't, 22-year-old me that wants it. It's now me that wants that. So, let's try it. And my philosophy is try it twice, because the first time don't count. And then, and the second time you might be like,
right.
third time, so, be willing to
Right.
try because it's amazing how often that connects you to, because maybe the act itself wasn't what it was that you wanted to experience, but maybe it was that intimacy. And so that's really kind of really
Mm-hmm.
have been connecting to sexy, just really listening, like, oh, I'm gonna put that down, or oh, I'm gonna look that up because that doesn't seem possible. Oh, it is possible. Okay, got it. Now I know for next time.
Awesome. So I would say that sounded like very good tips for folks who are
Hmm.
currently with someone, either right now inside together, or still seeing each other through Zoom or whatever online way that they can stay connected. But what are you telling folks who are now currently still dating and having virtual dates? Like, how do they communicate and
Oh
connect
gosh,
in that
that's
way?
so amazing. Because that is where I am as well. And so it gets to
Oh,
look so interesting. Listen, I have had dance parties, I have had coffee dates, I have had brunches, and then the rules still apply. And so for me, because I've been listening, I also know where my boundaries are. And there was a time when I was more concerned about how hot the guy was, so that my boundaries then became flexible. And I'm very clear what is and isn't cool for me, because
mm,
again, that allows me to be a level of comfortable to be able to connect, right, and with integrity and
right.
authentically. And so at this time, it's like being vulnerable enough to have a coffee date, even though my hair has really decided that it's going to do what it's going to do. Like it has, and then it often says to me, "You're not the boss of me in the morning." So, sometimes it's just that because it's not, I used to very much be connected to this perfect, my face has to be beaten within an inch. And if I had no eyelashes, I wasn't going out until I got eyelashes. And now it's just like, here are my favorite earrings. What are you thinking? That kind of thing. And so being connected to dating vulnerably is Zoom dating, virtual dating, house party dating, WhatsApp, dating. I mean, just being open is really kind of how folks are able to connect in a beautiful way, really. That's the opportunity now.
So, what are some ways you think that not feeling sexy have gotten in the way of folks
Ooh,
connecting?
ooh, 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 ooh. So I think one of the things that folks need to acknowledge is that we have all experienced some kind of trauma, and everyone feels it
Mm,
differently, but more importantly, expresses it differently. And so if we pretend as if we haven't had trauma, then days when we wake up and we don't quite feel like ourselves or things like that become like this thing like I'm not sure. And the reality is grace and patience, number one, right? Just understanding grace and patience. The other thing is that listen, normally we can pivot. We don't have to feel bloated because it's that time of the month. We don't have to acknowledge we have a pimple because there's makeup, right? But like those things are still going to
Right.
happen. And then we're actually at home in a place where we're either hiding or leaving. And so it's like now we're living, right? And so it's like we get to actually recognize that those things, A, make us human, B, connect us to the human condition, but more
Hmm.
importantly, like, that's just as much a part of the conversation of sexy as anything else is, right? Because nobody wants to date perfect, but somebody does want to date us.
That's a great point. So I wanted to know, what would you recommend for folks who, right now in this period, it's 5:30 on a Sunday. Um, are there any games that you would throw them to? Any shows that they can watch? Any questions they should be asking each other to bring out sexiness and
Yeah.
connecting?
So there's a couple. I think that watching shows together is interesting because typically a lot of watch parties are happening. Folks are circulating, hey, I've binged watched this already. We know what's another set of things we can watch. And so thinking about certain shows to watch together to talk about like intimacy in the show, because then that can also open up into intimacy conversations between folks who are dating.
Yeah.
And then also too being able to like connect
Mhm.
to things like, you know, old fashioned 20 questions, card games, strip poker comes to mind, but it depends on where you are on the continuum. I'm just offering, hallelujah. Um,
I hear you. Listen, it's a
listen,
in
listen.
the house.
The other thing too is things like like the love languages quiz, things like that, because it's good to know. And then you
Yeah.
can talk about that, right? Because that one of the things that we don't want to do is pivot to this opportunity, this time, and then we didn't try anything new. So we could go with the
Right.
like keep it surface conversations, or we can take an opportunity to go a little deeper and then coming on the other side with a whole entire
Right.
booth.
I wanted to just stay for 2 minutes on the love language that you brought up. So, what if my
Hmm.
language is touch and his
Hmm.
language is acts of service, but he keeps giving me acts of service when I want touch, and vice versa? How have you found that folks have gotten to actually understand that the way you receive love or give love, show love, or expect to, receive it isn't the same way your partner may
See,
also
that's
receive it?
that's actually a beautiful question, and I get it all the time from my coaching clients. And one of the things to be aware of is it's automatic that you will often love on someone the way you want to be loved because just like when you learn to speak, you think it's going to be mirrored back to you. And so there's so much frustration and like resentment and bitterness that kind of grows because it's like, but I give this to you, pause, as if like, hello, duh, give it back, versus being willing to say, hey, this is my love language. How willing are you to amp up your ability to speak my love language? Right? Because then the question is back to you as well. How willing are you to learn how to speak their love language better? Because the reality is we speak all five love languages. Everybody does. But we prefer to communicate in other
Right.
ways, meaning I might think of acts of service as washing dishes. But if a person who speaks acts of service understands
Hmm.
that touching you is like an act of service for him, but it meets your physical touch, he's more likely to do the physical touch, not kind of as a chore, but like I'm filling a need. I'm taking care of her, which is really behind the act of service. It's not I want to go like make sure your registration's on your car. That has nothing to do with it, but I want to take something off your plate or I want to take something off of your like schedule so that you have more time to feel at ease. That's really what it is in terms of active. You speak active service. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. That was a beautiful reframe because people are extremely literal about what those definitions are. And so maybe we need to throw them all to you to get coached so that
Come on, I'm
they
accepting
can
clients,
speak
so let me
better.
know.
God, I love that woman. As you go into the last stretch, I asked Denise about tips that she wanted to leave us with as we transition from inside to outside. Take a listen.
How do the vibrations or the quotient of sexy rise when you are enjoying the same thing by,
Oh, first of
flavorful
all, it's
activity?
the it's so interesting because typically when you work out, you know that there's kind of like this whole thing, then the endorphins, and then you kind of get that hit. But when you work out with a group, it actually amplifies that, right? Because we know how vibrations work. And so it's interesting because it's something as simple as seeing a fitness video and then you working out also. It's like a wave. Other people start working out in whatever way that makes sense for them because like in my running community we have people
Hmm.
who've just had babies to just going through reconstructive surgery to just did a 7-minute mile, and we're all kind of on the journey, right, of being more and more fit, and then that just raises the vibrations as well, fitness wise. And then obviously when you are feeling good, not necessarily like you're at the ideal weight, none of that, but when you're feeling good, baby, that kind of sexy. Yum,
Yeah.
yum, and more yum.
Things that you are doing to get men and women on the
Yes.
same
Um,
sexy plane?
okay.
What is that?
So,
And how can they?
right now we're building up a, group of folks who get together weekly. It's a weekly call. Right now it's Tuesday evenings, and basically we come together and we just talk about like what does it look like to raise the vibration of sexy in the world. One act at a time. There's also we haven't launched this yet. This is going to launch most likely by, I want to say by the summer. It's going to be a private group. And so it's like a private Facebook group. And the goal is really to have a place and space for us to kind of grow in our sexy by taking on challenges. And the goal here is that to try on different things, because often as adults, we kind of get into ruts, right? Like we may understand, like, hey, we need to take this additional class to get the certification at work. We may need to kind of go back to a refresher class
Right.
because we want to lower our points or we want to lower our insurance for cars. But we don't often take those opportunities to do those kind of upgrades for ourselves, and definitely not for our sexy. And so we want to create, opportunities to kind of link.
Right.
The other thing too is that often this is a separate gendered conversation, right? Or a separate energy, I'd rather say, right? Because you have people who identify as different genders. And so what happens is sometimes you'll have like
Right.
a whole bunch of like, the folks who identify as male get together and people who identify as female get together. And then we don't really get an opportunity to crosstalk. And so the private group, the private Facebook group that's going to be launching in the summer is an opportunity for us to to have cross conversations and recognize that really we're all in this conversation as humans together.
And before I wrap up, anything else you want to leave our listeners with in terms of getting through Rona, but even just, once we're back outside, what is that
Listen,
going to look like?
just really be honest, right? Really be authentic and connected to everything that you've learned about yourself at this time. Because just like folks are, sitting with their souls and like coming to understanding and things that you have may or may not have been able to deal with in the past, like let's take that learning forward, right? Let's not go back to kind of business as usual, because it's like it really doesn't allow us to continue to move the vibrations forward. It's almost like, hey, let's just go back because that was comfortable. Like, please, please, please um, step into some bravery, right? And some courage, some courageous acts. Try random acts of sexiness, right? And don't worry about it being perfect. Like it's so much more important uh, to love in such a way that that it makes you kind of the catalyst for sexy.
That was so fun. And I'm not sure about you, but I'm definitely incentivized to rethink my sexy and give it a little update. So stay tuned. Also, if you wanted to find out more about what Denise is doing to help elevate the quotient of sexiness around the world, look out for her book, which should come out around the holidays. She also, as I believe she mentioned, hosts a Tuesday night call where both men and women get together and talk about sexy and give each other some interesting challenges and assignments on how they can continue to elevate their sexy. Also, she is starting a Facebook challenge group sometime this summer, and she's also going to reinvigorate her running community. So you can find Denise at Fit Goals D, so that's Fit Goals DEE, or D_nice runs 212. Again, D_nice runs 212. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see you next time.